that it is a buyer's market still, and there are quote unquote bargains to be had, but these purchases realistically need to be based on knowledge and information based on the want and need that you are trying to fulfill.
Welcome to Cycling Demystified, brought to you by Foundation Bike Fit and Frequency Cycle Works, the podcast where we help you take your cycling to the next level by sharing the knowledge from experienced bike fitters, mechanics, and the hidden players within the bike industry.
All right, welcome back to the podcast, everybody. We are here with Matthew, Ev.
Hello.
Matt.
Hi. I've just been on holiday, haven't I?
Oh, welcome back, Matthew. Back to Earth with a bump.
A bump.
I haven't been that far, to be fair.
Yeah.
Crash bang wallop.
Yeah.
Well, just before we discuss your holiday, this week we're going to talk about the state of the industry. And we're at a specific time of the year, I think, which is autumn time here in the Northern Hemisphere, where things are changing. It's a change of seasons. The
Clock's just changed.
Yeah, the clock did change.
Your cat's body clock didn't change though, did it?
So my chest at 5 a.m. this morning.
Where's my
Staring
food?
me down.
What the cat doesn't know is that there's lots of new bikes coming out. Sales are on. People.
To be fair, that's not the only thing the cat doesn't know. He doesn't even know there's anything outside the front door.
But yeah, I think people going through a change in what they're looking for within their bikes and their bike riding. Certainly mudguards going on, indoor training is becoming more prevalent. But people also shopping around for new bikes and bargains. And my inbox is full of advice-seeking emails looking for whether or not...
Bike way.
Yeah, basically. Everyone wants to know. Well, it's good. Like, I want people to ask me if a certain bike will fit them before they go and hit the big red button and then realise that, their bargain wasn't such a bargain because it doesn't actually fit.
When is a bargain not a bargain?
Well,
if you wouldn't have bought it anyway, according to my mum.
I would have said that if it doesn't fit you and you go and spend thousands of pounds,
That too.
find out that it's just a big old paperweight.
well,
Yeah, I'll give you that.
yeah. I think that's what we're going to discuss today. Is it, what's the best way to buy a bargain? What's the best way to buy a bike? What people should be looking out for? And
I have a comment on bargains.
bargains.
I'll tell you later.
Oh, go on. Let's go straight in there.
Should we get straight in there?
Yeah.
All right. There is no such thing as a bargain. It's an idea that salespeople have.
Is it an idea that marketing people and salespeople have put in our head? Yeah.
Is it?
Is it?
Something to
Is
do
it something to do with
I
marketing?
think it's something to do with marketing. It's like going to buy a sofa and it's like, oh, they're all discounted. We should buy this today.
And when is there ever not a sale on at DFS?
If there's ever not a sale on at DFS, the world will implode.
It's true.
Imagine going into DFS and being like, I want to buy this couch, but I want to pay full price.
Never happened.
You
I
saying
won't tell anyone that I've won the lottery, but there will be signs. Please, sir, charge me full price for this couch. Anyway,
does
there's no such thing
your
as
your cat know about bargains?
My cat doesn't know about bargains. He doesn't understand how much we spend on him, on food for him, and vet bills and things like that. So anyway, going back to, there's no such thing as bargain because, for example, I'll give you a quick scenario. There's somebody looking for a bike. First thing a lot of people do when they get in touch is, well, I saw this on Google, and I saw this, and I Googled this, and because when you Google something, because Google is basically an overblown sales tool. It's not really a search engine. You put something in. What's the first thing that you see if you put a bike or a product in? You don't see information on that bike. You don't even get to see the manufacturer's website until maybe 10 entries down. The first thing you see is a bunch of websites trying to sell you a deal, right?
Yeah.
With made-up prices, a lot of the time, stuff that's not actually in stock. They'll tell you it is until you click through, and you'll find out it's not. They'll tell you a price, then you'll find out that that power meter is actually 175mm cranks. It's not that price when you choose reasonably lengthed cranks. And also, a lot of the deals that people find on the internet, they're grey imports. You're not going to be able to warranty them if something goes wrong. If you have any issues with something, you have to send it back to the place that you bought it from, which might be somewhere in Europe or the US.
Yeah.
So we're saying that if it seems too good to be true,
It probably
is.
But how do people find a good deal then? So what's the process? What do we need to be aware of
that we can think critically.
Do you want facts or do you want opinions?
Or both. Yeah, because
Okay.
Do you want to provide facts or opinions?
I'm full of opinions.
Do you confuse
as you well know.
confusing fact with your own opinion?
Sometimes fact and my opinion cross paths, at least once a day, or I should say twice a day. You go first, and then I'll give my opinion. You give me facts.
Facts. What was the question?
How do we find a good bargain on a bike? Now that prices are kind of coming down, manufacturers are trying to get rid of old season stock.
Okay, so the non-facetious answer is you go and get a bike fit. But before you go and get a bike fit, you have a word with yourself and you have a conversation with yourself and go, what do I want this new bike to do for me? What purpose and what application am I going to use this tool for? And then once you've decided that, you can contact your friendly local bike fitter and say, I would like to be fitted for a new bike. This is what I want to use it for. And then you can find out if that bargain is indeed a bargain. Is it appropriate for your riding, your body, what you want to do with your body and your bike? And if all of those things are in line, and yes is the answer to those questions, it is appropriate, it fits, it's a good price, does what you want it to do, then maybe, just maybe, you can purchase that bike.
There you go. Sounds like a very sensible way.
This is the sensible way around it.
I have an opinion. I have an opinion on this matter. What is a bargain? A bargain is in your head. It's not a product at a particular price. If you're looking at something going, oh, well, that's very cheap. Oh, look at that.
Well, it's all relative, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
So, what is a bargain for one person might be extortion for another.
It's not a bargain if you weren't looking for it in the first place. Right? If you've just come across something, you go, oh, that's really cheap. I better buy that because you never know.
But that's not how the world works, though, is it?
Apparently not.
Like, if it's too good to be true, if it's too good of a deal for you to pass up, the FOMO of you not partaking in that good deal
let me put it to you.
is too much to bear for most people that they have to go, I need this in my life because my life is going to be pointless and not worth living if I don't have this wondrous bargain.
New iPhone.
New iPhone, yeah. Whatever.
Let me put it to you. Are all bikes the same?
Yeah.
Okay, now the non-facetious answer. Are all bikes the same?
No.
So if you see a bike and you think, oh, that's a great deal because it's cheap. Well, no, because that's probably not the bike for you. You'd be very lucky if it was. If it turned out to be the right size, the right geometry, it's going to fit you, the kind of...
If only there was a way to figure this stuff out.
If only there was a way to figure it out.
So you're saying a bargain is a state of mind?
Yes.
And I'd like to contribute that you probably...
You may contribute.
I'd like to stop you two Muppets shouting at each other and contribute some wisdom to this discussion.
I'd say that most people know what they want already.
I would argue against that.
I agree with Matt.
Hang on.
Oh my God.
No,
that's rubbish.
They've got the idea in their head of what they want already, and somehow within the sale process of this time of year where things seem to be a little bit cheaper than usual, they've already
less
gone through
overpriced than usual.
Yeah, they've gone through a whole year of like thinking about it. They've watched all the videos. They've seen all the blog reviews. Then they're kind of ready and they see something.
We've seen this analogy before, haven't we? It's in the fairy tales. Okay, let's say we stop talking about bikes for a moment and we talk about shoes instead. Not bikes, just shoes.
Are you going down the Disney route here?
Right. Yeah. Oh, look, I walk past the shop. Oh, look at those shoes. Aren't they amazing, those ruby slippers? Oh, and they're a bargain. I should definitely go and buy them. You walk into the shop, they're like, no, these are 3 sizes too small for you. No, it's a bargain. I'll have them. Hand over your credit card. And then you walk out with basically like crossed feet.
We've all done it.
You don't do that, though, do you? You might go to a wedding in an ill-fitting pair of shoes. You did that, didn't you? But you wouldn't live. But
you were aware of the consequences of what you were doing.
Yeah.
And this is where I think you're wrong, in that people don't know what they want. No.
Semantics, isn't it?
They know what they want. They don't know what they need.
That's a very different
that is a different conversation. But I think people get confused, like Ev confuses fact and his own opinion, with what they want and what they need. Am I right?
Let me put it another way: is what does somebody need is what makes them happy in the long term, not the short term, right? What they want makes them happy in the short term because they're just satisfied with their purchase and they like looking at a bike outside, sitting outside a cafe. What they need is something that is going to bring them joy for years to come because they'll actually be comfortable and be able to ride their bike, right?
Well,
essentially what you're saying?
in terms of bikes, again, it comes back to what you were saying earlier, Matt, about, what do you want at the end of the day? What is the overall outcome? A bargain is only a bargain if it's going to help you, get to that point, if it's going to help you, let's say, ride further, ride longer, be more comfortable. If you're buying a bike just because it's a bike and it looks cool, then sure, you can buy any bike. But if you actually want to ride it, then there's another layer of decision making that has to take place. And it can be a difficult one for riders to get their heads into that space of thinking practically about their purchases and so on, because there are a lot of things that you have to consider when it comes to bikes, both in terms of, everyone tends to look towards the performance of their bike. Is it aero? Does it have 28mm tires? Does it have disc brakes? Does it have blah 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 blah?
Sir, there's no such thing as a fast bike.
They're all slow.
They don't ride themselves.
That's true.
There's such a thing as a fast car because anyone can get in a Ferrari, put their foot down and wrap it around a tree.
Yeah.
But a bike does not ride itself. So, again, snake oil.
But that's
blah, blah, blah.
and it's through no fault of our own. Like, as human beings, we're built to think about the easy stuff. Like, understanding 28mm tires is faster with 75 psi in it compared with 23mm tires with 100 psi in it. Maybe that's quantifiable. It's easier to understand.
It's actually not true, but yeah.
I know, but there's so much literature and studies out there.
But do you reckon that now going into 2025, people are buying, or we are being sold bikes based on a lifestyle ideal rather than a practical tool to do a job? Would that be a fair comment?
Well, because you can't sell more. The bike industry already reached its
we peaked
peak.
in 1998.
Yeah,
basically,
right.
With that amazing US postal carbon track.
but now, especially post-COVID, right? Because COVID was a huge boom because it was you're not allowed to leave the house unless you're exercising. Give me a bike, any bike. Literally had that from customers walking in like, I just need a bike, right? And then post-COVID, that boom, everyone was bored at home. They had money building up in their bank accounts. Not everyone had money building up in their bank accounts, but a hell of a lot of people furloughed from, high-paying jobs anyway, were basically sitting at home on their bums doing absolutely sod all with just the money just coming in. I can't go to the pub, so I can't spuff my wad in the pub. I can't go out and smoke cigars.
Is this opinion or fact?
It's kind of like
We're in a grey area.
But effectively, you had people who normally have a fair bit of disposable income having more disposable income because they were sitting around doing absolutely sod all, and then they just want to buy stuff. So it's like every industry had a boom. People sold more TVs. They sold more everything. Sold more bikes, right? And then you come off it, all of a sudden people are back to work and everything like that. Everyone's already got a bike. Everyone's already got the thing that they coveted, that they wanted. They had the money there, they spent it. Now people are a little bit more frugal. Still plenty of people with money out there making silly decisions. But
why did everyone buy a bike?
Yeah, why did everyone buy it? Was it just the fact that that was one of the only things you could do?
It was one of very, very few things.
It's like, I've got a choice here. I can go for a run or I can go for a ride.
Exactly.
And
so
running's a damn sight harder than cycling.
Yeah. All the runners realise, well, I'm only out for 20 minutes and then I'm out of breath and I go home.
But
if you get on a bike, you can do 3 hours outside.
Yeah, but the actual idea is that you're buying your freedom, aren't you? You take something away. You take away the freedom.
Yeah.
You're locked up inside, and so the bike suddenly becomes this tool for freedom. You can go out and you can ride your bike,
which is what it always was.
Yeah.
And is.
But what also had a boom during the dark times of COVID
Netflix,
No.
Deliveroo,
Yes. Also,
Five Guys.
riding related, Matthew. Riding related, but not outside.
Indoor riding.
Oh, Zwift.
Yeah. Oh, we got there in the end. Took a while to get you back.
That's esports, though.
But is it?
It's not really bike riding, is it?
It's just exercise bikes.
Yeah, it's Peloton.
Peloton.
But
Peloton.
so now that we've come out of the dark days of COVID, you know, what does a bike mean to you now? You know, is it just another object of, well, it's a cool object because it kind of means speed and freedom and all the rest of it? Or does it actually, do you want something that takes you on that journey? That you have choice now, you have that ability to choose.
I would argue you have less choice.
Oh,
Here we go. I know where you're going with this.
go on then.
So, in terms of actually buying a bike, the choices are becoming less and less varied, because most manufacturers now are going to like a one bike platform. So, you know, those of us who are old enough to remember, Specialized, the big S, our lord and saviours, the bike industry. They used to have a lightweight bike, which was the Tarmac, SL4, best version.
Agreed.
They used to have the Roubaix, which was the quote-unquote endurance bike, the comfy one, with the Zerts.
Zerts.
And then they had an aero bike, which is the Venge.
Remember the Venge?
Disgustingly stiff, that
Too
bike. Too stiff.
So stiff.
Bone
It broke
crunchingly stiff.
itself.
Yeah. Now, most manufacturers are going to single platform race bikes. So they don't have a lightweight climbing bike, they don't have an aero bike, they have one bike which is the best of everything. So Tarmac, you can't buy a Venge now. Specialized don't do an aero bike, they just do the Tarmac. Trek have killed off the Amonda, and it's now Modone that's been on a diet, basically. Lapierre recently have got rid of their aero and lightweight platforms and just gone into one race bike platform, aero lightweight. Surprised Cannondale still make the System 6.
Don't think anyone buys it.
I don't think anyone buys it. They still
You have to
make
pick
it.
one up to realise
Yeah.
you don't want one.
But yeah,
I can't
so
remember the last time we saw a System 6.
neither can I. But yeah, they're basically like going down the one bike platform route.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
Like Scott, they still do too, but I think it'll only be a matter of time.
Is it still a Ridley Noah?
Yeah.
And a
Yeah,
Hughes?
yeah, Ridley is still
Ridley
doing...
still do it, but like the more like the big brands
Yeah.
that you see a lot of, a lot of them are going to these one bike platforms. Canyon, for instance, they still do 3 different platforms of bike, but they have one cockpit that is shared across the entire range. So your choices are limited there. Proprietary stems, proprietary handlebars. Your choices are limited with fit as well as componentry. You know, proprietary like teardrop seat posts. You know, you can't choose your setback really. You've got to, if you're lucky, you've got 2 choices. If you buy a Giant, you don't. You only have one seat post. You flip the thing. But yeah, limited on choice there. So realistically, as a consumer going into 2025, I would argue you've got less choice from the big carbon bike brands than you had even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So, which is why, again, going back to your original kind of like proposition of what is a bargain, well, you don't really have a lot of choice now. You kind of buy what you're told to, and you will pay what you're told to because you don't have many options.
But the reasons that they're doing all of these things is because everything's like, you know, you have first you had like, you know, everything was lightweight. Bikes were, when carbon was in its infancy, like, you know, late 90s, early 2000s into like 2010, everything was all about being as light as possible. Then the aero bikes came along, and then everything was all about being aero, and it didn't matter that it was a little bit heavier. Then that got to the point where, you know, we're not selling enough of these, they're a bit heavy. Then it got to lightweight bikes again, or a sort of combination of the two. Then it got into aero again. Now we're just coming off the tail end of this second generation of everything has to be aero to getting lighter again. It's like
cyclical, isn't it?
It's just always been cyclical. But now we've got an elephant in the room, and the elephant's got a big motor, right? So there's the addition to all of these big brands. Now they're trying to sell e-bikes, right? So they have to cut down their offerings of regular bikes, analog bikes, if you want, you know. So they haven't got the So there's no point doing R&D on a regular bike because they want to spend all their money on e-bikes and try and sell those because that's the new cool thing. That's what the kids want now. They just want
Is it?
Yeah, all kids they want e-bikes. They don't care about regular bikes anymore.
I don't know. Is that something that they want, or I guess that's the crux of this argument, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like,
It's a
is it what
combination,
they want, or is this what the industry is just feeding you?
Marketers are at the top of the food chain in corporations now, and they keep dictating what they think people want. They don't really know. They have no idea. But, somebody makes up a chart.
But
or
it
a
almost
spreadsheet.
doesn't matter what people want because
doesn't,
they'll buy
because
what they're told.
It's all about differentiating your product from your previous product. Like we're talking about iPhones, though. They're always always a new feature. Oh, now it's AI. Oh, now it's this. Oh, now it's that.
But it's planned obsolescence.
Yeah,
and the
absolutely.
bike industry is seemingly going down this route of planned obsolescence. But the way that they do it is by making proprietary components and not supporting previous iterations.
For example, what is the point of buying a bike with a seat post that they only make for that particular bike? In 5 years' time, you don't know that they're not going to change.
Well, they'll have forgotten about the bike.
They'll have forgotten about it. You won't be able to find a seat post for it.
And then when you crack it, when you over torque it, you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same with the handlebars, same with anything that's proprietary, anything that's like, a little bit different, or even the frames. Look, Canyon had this big problem. To be fair, their customer service is actually quite good, which is annoying. But if you bought, say, their bike from maybe more than 2 years ago, and then you go and have a crash and you break your fork, they don't have the fork because they keep changing the design where it actually mates to the frame. You can't fit. Okay, go on.
So going back to, I just had to say this while it's in my head. So going back to your question, Way, about what is a bargain, depends how you define bargain, doesn't it? So if you define bargain as lifetime value or longevity of a product, then I would argue there's no such thing as a bargain anymore.
So when we say
But
bargain,
if you define bargain as the amount discounted off the ticket price, then crack on. There's loads of bargains.
right,
But
so it's about our definitions. We're not talking about bargains. We're talking about cheap deals. That's not the same thing as a bargain, is it?
exactly. So it depends on your definition and your kind of how you quantify the word bargain.
People need to stop using the word bargain when what they mean is I got it cheap.
But it's what it's meant by that, isn't it? It's like it's implied meaning rather than its dictionary.
It's funny though because we get lots of people with a healthy disposable income coming to us saying, "Oh, I got this because it was a bargain." I was like, "Yeah, but you could have easily afforded to pay full price for that. It wouldn't even have touched the sides, right?" Whereas it's a bit of a weird dynamic because the other side of that coin is the old the buying a used car from a used car salesman. It's a bargain. That was always code for it's a shitter, right? This is not going to last very long. It's not going to work very well. That's why it was cheap. And people don't stop to think these days that there's a reason why it's cheap. It's either because it's a grey import, you're not going to get warranty on it, so if something goes wrong, you're up the creek without a paddle, or just it's unreliable technology.
So ultimately, I think what we're kind of maybe getting at is that a bargain is something that will fulfill the needs that is the whole reason it's been purchased. It will give some degree of longevity, like lifetime value. And the cherry on the cake would be that it's a bit of a better price than it would have been normally. Or not necessarily. Like a bargain can be something that, lasts a long time that you pay full price for. It just depends how you define it.
You pay full price for something, but if what you get out of it is really satisfying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the key word is value. What do you value? What are your values, and what value is the bike creating for you? I'll give you an example. I had a gentleman in here recently who got an absolute bargain,
Air quotes,
on a new bike, which was reduced from £8,000 to £6,000.
Oh.
And he just had to have it because it was like the best price he'd seen it at, and he'd been eyeing it up for God knows how long.
£8,000 is a lot of money. £6,000 is also a lot of money.
A lot of money, and he had, for him that's a lot of money. He had to get permission from his wife. He had to, he had to seek that permission because it was
a. Sorry to say, whoever you are, if you're listening, she doesn't love you.
Keep talking, Way.
And I'd also suggested to him that there were better bikes out there that would actually fit him better. But, his raison d'etre, his need is to go out on the bike and ride it around a local park very fast for a short period of time and feel good about himself. And that was it. He doesn't need to ride 3, 4, 5 hours at a time. He doesn't need to do sportives. He doesn't need to do this and that. And somehow this idea had been imprinted into his mind, and that was what was going to make him happy. And so he was willing to do that to get the bike that he wanted, and he's clear about that, and that's fine.
Yeah.
That if you're clear about kind of what you need and what's going to make you happy, then that's great.
But yeah, he had a clear need that bike fulfilled for him.
Yeah.
So he was going into that purchase eyes wide open, or eyes partially open,
Squinting.
slightly blurry. But it sounds like he kind of had an idea of what he was getting into.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't going in eyes wide shut,
Yeah.
basically.
Can I be slightly cynical? His mates have got nice bikes. That's why he wanted it.
Yeah, I mean, but that's part of the
That's
value.
part of it.
Yeah,
isn't
no,
it?
totally.
Yeah.
It's like
We all have 10-year-old
football
bikes
stickers
with
in the
external.
playground,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's like, oh, so and so's got, I don't know, name a player from the 80s or 90s. I don't know.
Tony Yeboah.
Is that a real person?
Yeah.
I just made that up.
No.
But let me ask you all, how many bikes have we seen come through here which have been purchased off the back of the demise of a large online bike company, and where people have just snapped up, air quotes, bargains, and then come back in here and had a bike fit, only to be told that, well, maybe you've got a little bit more work to do.
I was told once that, I bought this, so I know it doesn't fit, but let's see what we can do. That was the opening gambit.
Maybe we'll get lucky.
Yeah. But yeah, it's true. And yeah, I guess if you're going into that knowing what it is that you are going to get, maybe that's fine.
Quick sidebar. How long in minutes would you normally wait from the moment that somebody walks in with a bike that's clearly not the right size for them before you actually tell them, drop the bombshell, sorry, you bought the wrong bike?
Depends.
Yeah, depends.
Depends on the vibe you get from them.
Yeah, like
Oh, this bike is amazing, I love it. It's a bit painful.
yeah, we're a little bit more
We're a
nuanced.
little bit more tactful than we come across in podcast form.
Our job is to help people at the end of the day, and sometimes that means giving them information that they don't want to hear, but it has to be done in a way that is useful.
You feel that you have a duty.
Well, we're doing people a disservice
If
if
you
we
don't
don't give them that information.
Yeah.
Because, like, you just
I mean,
pulling
the
the sheets
point-
over their eyes, yeah.
It would just make you unpopular with your own customers if you sent them off on their way on a bike that
Which is
clearly doesn't
morally
fit.
wrong.
And also it's not going to be very comfortable for them, is it?
Exactly.
Yeah, you're just enabling people to be in painful situations, and that's not good. What about second-hand bikes? You've been getting a few second-hand bikes in recently with some hidden gifts, yeah, and rusty parts and all kinds of things, haven't you?
Yeah, but you know, it's like that's a known quantity if you buy something used. All right, some people don't realise it's a known quantity.
In a
but
way it is, in a way it
in a
isn't.
way, yeah.
It's not until you start
Yeah.
peeling back the layers.
Yeah, but you know, again, because we were talking about planned obsolescence and the generations of bikes. You go back about, I don't know, what is it about? 5, I suppose 3, 4, maybe 5 years.
I'd say 5 years
If
now.
you go back 5 years, if you buy a bike from 5 years old and older, you're pretty much guaranteed that you got something that you might be able to
Adjust.
You can extend its life, you can adjust it, you can replace parts, you can replace broken stuff or worn stuff with stuff that.
Do you know what, though?
will
I
always
think you have
exist.
to go back further.
Yeah,
I think it's 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I'm thinking, like, what was 5 years ago? That was
Venge Bias.
2019, mate.
Venge Bias.
2019.
2017, actually. Wasn't it?
Yeah, so think about that, right? How many Cervelo rat axles do you see now? None.
Oh, that's,
Exactly.
no, there is one on. Where's that bike gone?
No, it's not here anymore.
Where do all these bikes end up?
Anyway, yeah,
But this is
that
it.
was
But
just-
yeah, planned
Yeah.
obsolescence
Yeah.
has been a thing. I would argue for like 10 years now.
Yeah, actually, I think you're right.
And I think you have to go back to like 2015, 2016,
We're talking about
i.e. your
my
bike,
yeah.
where it was all standardised. So it was all quick release, all rim brakes, all airhead stems, you know, inch and an eighth.
We're getting to the point 10 years on where or a little bit more sometimes, where you might not be able to find a replacement like rim brake caliper or something because they've stopped making those. So yeah, there's still some dotted around, new old stock and stuff like that.
And things are set, like axle, through axles, like 12mm through axles for disc brakes on road bikes. They're all pretty much standardised these days.
Except there are a few different standards.
Well, there's three different thread pitches.
Yeah. So which is like the, again, but this is the industry that we work in. They're idiots.
But going back to your point about second-hand bikes and known quantities, I think you're more likely to get a quote-unquote bargain second-hand if you know what you're looking for.
If you are, for example, somebody who is inheriting somebody else's mistake, you have made a previous mistake and you're rectifying that by inheriting their mistake.
So we're just passing around mistakes.
It's like
musical mistakes.
So-and-so is selling their bike cheap because they bought it brand new, but actually it turns out it doesn't fit them. But it turns out that size is actually what you need because you bought the wrong size bike and you've just sold that. So you're now, it's kind of like pay it forward.
Pay it forward. But it's all about context though, isn't it?
Yeah.
And this is where the bargain element kind of comes in. It's all about in what context that purchase is being made. So if you're like putting your finger into the wind and buying, Madone because it's got X amount of thousands of pounds off because the bike shop want to shift it because they're getting a new colourway next week,
there's the other.
Then that might not be so much of a bargain. But if you're going into a purchase with knowledge, information and kind of a clear idea of what it is that you want and need, then you can do yourself a pretty tidy favour.
If what you need is 175mm cranks, there are plenty of bargains to be had out
Some
there.
people need them.
Some people need them. Not many, but some people do. And
there's a reason this stuff exists.
Yeah, I'd say, we've got a second-hand tri-bike over there, which was that purchased with our blessing?
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
It's great.
Mate, that thing was like 1,500 quid off eBay and with like a few modifications.
Talking about Cervelo P3 rim brake.
Rim brakes, 2014 that bike was, that colourway. That was purchased off the back of a fit. And that bike new with Ultegra Di2 was 4,700 quid with Mavic Cosmic Elite.
That's like
alloy
£70,000
wheels
in today's money.
Yeah, so adjusted for inflation.
But standard, it's got headset bearings were gone. Standard headset bearings.
Exactly.
No problem. Got some in, replaced them.
Yeah.
I've replaced them, they're on my bench, but they will get replaced. But everything else, it's all standard stuff. It's like when something needs replacing, it's fine.
But in my book, this chap got a good deal.
Yeah.
Because we know that bike's going to work. Once it's all like set up and serviced, it's going to purr and it's going to be great. And it's going to fit him really well and he's going to get longevity out of it.
How old is this gentleman? Just out of curiosity.
Mid-30s.
Mid-30s. So it's kind of like old enough to know that, listen to your wisdom.
In fairness, this particular chap has had some very good advice from another client of ours who did go through that process of maybe not understanding what his body needed out of a bike, got a different bike and is now smashing it.
Customer
basically.
Evangelism, that's the key to it all.
Yeah.
And
he had advice from this particular gentleman
Always gonna work
and
better when-
came in for a fit him up for a tri bike, bosh.
And that's
Done.
the thing, that is genuinely a bargain.
That's a genuine bargain,
Wow, you're going to be quick on that thing because you're able to get yourself in that position, and also.
Well, it's a purchase that's based on knowledge, and that's it.
But
there's a soundbite for you. I see you nodding your head. Yeah.
The sad thing is, there's for every one person that agrees.
Yeah, there's 20 others.
There's 20 who are like, but it doesn't have disc brakes, or it's not the most, it's not the latest thing, it's not the latest.
But this is a societal problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is a want versus need problem. And like you were saying, Wade, that want versus need kind of conundrum can only be answered by the person that is posing that question. And that is ultimately kind of the crux of the argument, isn't it? It's only a bargain if it's a bargain for you. Like this chap who's spent 6k on his bike that, he can ride for 20 minutes. If that fulfills a need and a want for him, then yeah, fine. Who are we to say otherwise?
Where does that leave us then? I think
where that leaves us with essentially not a warning, but like you know, we would
A lesson.
strongly encourage that, you know, it is a buyer's market still, and there are quote unquote bargains to be had, but these purchases realistically need to be based on knowledge and information based on the want and need that you are trying to fulfill. And if, I know I'm boring and sensible, but if the purchase doesn't match the need, then you're missing the point, and it's not a bargain, and you're just chucking money down the pan.
Money on something you're not going to use.
Exactly.
He said, looking at 3 bikes in the studio that we never ride.
Well, actually,
They will get rid of it.
They'll get rid of it.
actually, to be fair, we've got,
At least mine's dirty.
there's one each, isn't there? Really,
Yeah,
I'm like, I ride no, I
No,
don't.
I look at your road bike,
Which is-
his time trial bike and my mountain bike.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
but they're tools to do
they are
jobs,
tools to do a specific job.
specific job, and if
And we work in the industry. So we
that
have
doesn't
an
matter. But if if that isn't the tool to do the job, then there is another tool that will serve that purpose.
And I think finally, just reminding people of your point, Matt, of how everything's getting a little bit more proprietary with new bikes, and everything's getting a little bit more in-house, and companies are trying to keep you in their fold, and that lack of cross-compatibility has to be acknowledged. And so if you go into a purchase, then you should be aware of these cross or lack of cross-compatibility, so that you
Do you
can
remember a time, not so many years ago, when people were up in arms, screaming blue murder, that you would end up with a mobile phone where you couldn't change the battery? Remember how much pushback that got? I was like, what? What do you mean?
And here we are.
Here we are. They've done it to us with everything. They've done it to us with laptops, TVs, now bikes. They did it to us with cars a while ago as well.
Well, it's just a consumer society, isn't it? You know, you don't, like, how often do you upgrade your phones? Like, the built-in obsolescence is there. Like, the phones are there to be upgraded.
But it's not from lack of want. It's that you just can't.
There's no choice.
There's no choice anymore.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what we were saying about bikes. There is no choice anymore. You're forced into, because that's all people want to make, because capitalist society wants you to use something like
I would say,
stitches.
it's consumerist.
Well, it's the same thing.
It's not,
Kind of.
isn't though.
Kind of similar.
Not really.
But there are bikes out there that are still adjustable, though. So maybe
Yeah.
this is a cue for everyone to go and buy, from your local custom bike builder, maybe. Or bikes that are adjustable. Or maybe that's a discussion for
But there are bikes out there that I think we need to kind of shout about those bikes so that there are more of those bikes that get made.
Yeah. But
Your Genesis.
Well, I was thinking more about the Athos.
Oh, the Athos.
yeah, it is interesting that bike seems to be an anomaly.
A what now?
A phenomenon.
Can you just repeat that for me?
I think I'm going to have to for the podcast. We'll cut that bit out. An anomaly.
Yeah.
The Athos seems to be an anomaly because it is an adjustable bike. And I think there was a hope in Specialized's thinking that would lead the industry into making more adjustable bikes. It has a round seat post, it has an 1.8 inch headset.
Such a good bike.
Everything can be moved around. It's got a threaded bottom bracket. It's
got a weight limit though, isn't it?
Do they have a weight limit?
They all have
Quite
weight
a-
limits.
No, but it's got quite a low weight limit compared to.
100 kilos?
Isn't it lower than that?
Is it less?
I think it's like
But
90.
I'd wager that the Athos is not Specialized's best-selling bike.
No, of course it's
gonna
not.
be
No.
all about
Well,
the tarmac.
but how much of that is because of their marketing strategy, not about whether the bike is better or not? Like
If Remco was riding an Athos,
yeah, they would sell. Like
everyone would be
bikes.
going nuts
Yeah.
for it.
And he would have exactly the same results that he's had.
I feel
I.e., second
like-
at everything.
Wait, he won double gold at the Olympics.
Olympics, does he?
What are you on about?
It's not really politics, mate. World tour.
But yeah, I think that was the hope, wasn't it? And there are bikes out there if you look hard enough.
Yeah.
Like, they do exist. But
Yeah, there's definitely some weird stuff going on. The fact that you can buy a completely custom built bike cheaper than some of the off the shelf stuff now.
Yeah,
is just
that is an interesting one. And maybe it's cool for people to look beyond the big brands, the mainstream supermarket brands. There is other stuff out there. And maybe that's what your local bike shop is good for. Go talk to them. Go talk to someone with some knowledge. Accrue that knowledge before you go out and be consumed by the big brands.
Just be open to possibilities. Don't walk in with a preconceived idea of what you decided that you want. Listen to opinions, and then you can form a more informed opinion later on.
But that involves thinking critically.
Yeah, we don't do that very often, do we?
Anyway, on that note, happy bargain hunting, everybody. And if you do need some advice, go look
You'll
for
find
it.
us in DFS.
Paying full price.
I don't know. Do you pay full price for anything these days?
I do generally pay full price for a few things. Running shoes, because they don't really make what I want anymore, so it's never discounted. What else do I pay full price for? Jackets.
Yeah, you can't.
Because I rarely buy jackets, and it's worth spending on.
A coat is a 1 in 20 or 30 years purchase.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, it is when you get to our age.
Yeah, but no, I think there is value in paying what something is worth. It's just that question of what is it worth to you.
Yeah. All right. Well, let us know. What is a bike worth to you? What do you value in your bike riding? And
No cables.
All right, we'll leave it there. We'll see you on the next one. See you guys. Bye. If you made it to the end of this episode, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, do leave us a rating or review, as this really helps other riders find our podcast too, and motivates us to keep making more episodes. Thanks for your support, and catch you on the next one.
Suffering from numb hands, tingling toes, and any other persistent discomforts when you ride? These are all signs that your bike fit could be improved. If you're bike fit curious, get in touch with Way or Matt by emailing info@foundation.fit or finding them on Instagram @FDN_bikefit. Finally, for all your bike servicing needs, custom dream bike or hand-built wheels, go to www.frequencycycleworks.com or find me on Instagram @frequencycycleworks. Until next time, keep on spinning.